Hello everyone and welcome back. Smothered Run once again, also known as 47th Ronin in Shogun 2. We're doing a Shogun 2 Avatar battle and I'm up against, pretty sure he was a rank 6, not a rank 5. I still have that issue of not getting the right unit ranks showing. So anyways, I'm against a rank 6 and I'm just going to call this the Zerg army that I'm facing. Yeah, we'll get on that in a moment. So I brought a sort of my new standard katana core that's actually accidentally modified. I've got 3 matchlocks, 2 samurai, and 1 monk. I've got 2 bow monks, both veterans. Naginata attendants. I have problems saying that word. 2 lone swords. Both are fresh, and 4 katana samurai. 2 are veterans. They're both ranked higher than they're showing. And 4 Yari cavalry. 1's a veteran. And I'm facing, like I said, the Zerg, but in this case the Japanese no-dachi Zerg. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 no-dachis. And 2 Yari Ashigaru and his melee general, because he's got the increased bodyguard size. So at first when we first loaded in, I looked at the lineup and I said, that's not missile infantry. Usually when we're in the lobby before the game, when I'm setting up my army, if I have a few seconds, I'll check on the opponent's general avatar just to see what kind of units they prefer, and it said prefers missile infantry. So I was going, okay, so I'm facing a missile corps, no problem. Well, that's not a missile corps. That's not a missile corps at all. Fortunately, he didn't bring any cavalry. He spent all his money on charge infantry, and so I don't have to worry too much about not having spears. Just start it right now because not much is going to be happening. And my goal now is just to get my cavalry in behind him and charge into his no-dachis. So at this point I'm just going to run up and grab the shrine because I'm going to need the morale, because there's quite a morale shock from this charge they have. But the fortunate thing is, just look at what his units get for bonuses here. I mean, they're no-dachis, but they're fresh. I don't think he had a single veteran. So he does have the retainer that lets him get a little bit more morale and some melee defense and some armor, but it looks like he has a debuff to his melee attack. So all in all, this is an army I can handle as long as I get him to do what I want him to do. So I'm just going to double speed it for a moment because nothing's really happening. So at this point, I know I'm not going to... If I let him surround me, I'm done. If I let him get in behind me, I'm done. So ideally I would have lined up a little bit more parallel to the ridge so that my matchlocks would have had a better length of time to fire, but the one thing I don't want to let him do is get that shrine, because my cavalry is going to be needed to get in behind him, give him the morale shock for being charged in the rear or attacked in the rear. The only thing I can do is make sure I'm going to have to pick one side that I'm going to keep, one flank that I'm going to keep, and set everything up so that I've got basically 1 or 2 sides that are going to be sacrifices. If one side collapses, that's fine. If 2 sides collapse, that's okay, but not great, but I can manage with that. If he had brought some stand and fight infantry, this might have been a different story. It could have been a lot worse. So I can see he's breaking off. For a moment, I guess we both thought that this building over here was something we could capture, but it's not. So he's bringing his no-dachis up to surround me and then come at from the side, so I'm going, well, I'm going to force you to do that then. So I end up moving a matchlock over this way. You'll see I'm just going to double speed again. pulling my cavalry back so they don't get discovered, because might as well keep the surprises as long as possible. In a map like this, anytime I can put my cavalry in the trees, I will. And I want to keep that trap. I want to spring that trap as late as possible. I want him to get comfortable. I say him, but I want my enemy to get comfortable, my opponent, and commit all of his infantry before I send in my cavalry, because then he can't react with his spears, he can't react with the no-dachi. I mean, I'm not too worried about charging no-dachis, even though apparently historically they were used as anti-cavalry weapons. But so anyways, here we go. He's springing up. I'm already getting a few pot shots into his. Of course, they're in the trees, so that does no damage. So I've decided that since I have my cavalry over here, this left flank is going to be the side I'm going to keep. Oh, I just love watching matchlocks fire, especially when they're on my side. What I should have done is pop the increased range on my monks, but I did not. So could have gotten probably a second volley off beforehand. So he's now, I've got my line nice and spread out. I've kept my matchlocks there until the absolute last second, and I've rushed up a set of lone swords and a veteran katana. My veteran katana is just going to stand there and take the charge. The lone swords are just there for support. And then my cavalry, although they're going to lose some speed coming back through the trees, they're at least moving before they get into the trees, and then they can just accelerate through once they get through the trees. I thought about just leaving them in the trees and then coming at them, but no, we're just going to go straight through the trees, get as much speed as we can. Here my matchlocks are getting ready to fire. This unit is going to get eaten up. This unit's going to get eaten up. So I've decided that as much as I'd like to keep my monks for later, I'm going to have to leave them as a sacrifice. I do send a unit of lone swords over to help bolster them, help them stand and fight as long as possible, just to hold down that side. At this point, all I want to do is delay the collapse of the right flank and delay the collapse of the center of my center. So what I'm going to do, though, is now they've engaged, and now I've got my cavalry ready. My matchlocks have managed to pull out, mostly. Sending over another unit of swords to support, and then here come lines have just met on the front flank, or on the front and then on my flank, and here we go. Nice view. Just watch the bodies go flying. So pop the rally. This side is completely collapsed. Now, in hindsight, what I should have done was bring my cavalry back out this way and then bring them out back, so at the very least I can get in behind them and then give them the morale shock for, you know, having the enemy in the rear. I didn't bring my matchlocks out the side here and start shooting into the backs. Instead I ended up doing what you're about to see, where they just end up going around behind, charging my general in just to hold them down again. His general is coming at mine but gets caught in my bows.
Our general is in grave danger, my lord!
Some of my cavalry's caught and get rid of chunks of his general. So I'm bringing my swords up from this flank here. They've all cleaned up. They're going to come in and just help on my center, and then my cavalry's coming around and they're just going to charge in from the rear as many times as they can. I would like my matchlocks to hold up. What I could have done is sent my bows over to engage in melee too, just to hold them down even longer. At this point, the bows aren't going to be doing as much good as they could be. So there goes my flank.
Our men are running from the battlefield.
I mean,
Shameful display.
if he had come around and engaged my sword, engaged my bows, and then tried to come at me from behind, but I have a feeling that my opponent here is just used to being able to overwhelm on a charge and not really having to use much strategy to win. He just relies on a Zerg army, and that's that. That's all he needs. So sending a unit of Katana Samurai out to blunt the charge of these no-dachis. Didn't really get a good charge in with my cavalry, but I got enough to sort of get rid of a chunk of units on this flank here, and then they're going to pull back out and then charge right back in, and that'll be the end of the battle. Again, I could have spread them out, but
A glorious victory will soon be yours.
I didn't want my matchlocks shooting into my own guys. I find that to be just very cheesy and not exactly a good idea in the long run. So yeah, I mean, if he had brought some katanas or naginatas, he probably would have been able to, if not beat me, at least make it even harder for me to win. But this was, you know, a textbook. Just pick the side. I'm going to pick the battle. I'm going to pick how he attacks me, and I'm going to. And this is why I prefer a balanced army versus just one that's a straight rush army. I'd rather be able to dictate how I engage, whether or not I charge at the guy, or if I'm, in this case, going to make him come to me, and because that's what his army is designed for, and then I'm just going to use that against him. So, although I will say, I don't win every time I face a rush army. When I face a rush army like this that's got more stand and fight infantry, it's quite a bit more difficult, and I don't win every time. Let's put it that way. No means an expert here, but anyways, have a good one.